I think it's pretty ridiculous. Never mind.
Once.
Sorry. I urge once more the City Council to take a look at medical cannabis and the laws and regulations that Seattle and other major cities in the Washington state have adopted as far as safe access points. A recent study came out that proved that places with safe access points for their patients to be able to access their medication have lower crime rates. That's because you're taking somebody who you consider a criminal and turning them into a law-abiding citizen. And so therefore, they're in turn looking out for other people who would be breaking the law. There are 5 men that are federally indicted right now. It is shameful that Spokane has not stepped up to the plate and set up rules and regulations as asked by the governor. So I really urge you to do one or the other, something. Quit shoving it back on the people and making them sign darn pieces of paper. Do something.
Ma'am, you need to contact your federal representative because I have a son that lives in San Francisco, and the difference between what goes on in San Francisco and goes on up here all rests on the federal attorney.
Just look at the difference of what goes on in Seattle versus what's going on in Spokane, Mr. Shogun. Why bring California into it? Look in your own state. Look at the differences between Washington, Seattle, and Spokane. Why be looking at California? Why not look at your own state?
Ma'am, chill out for a second and listen to me. What I'm saying is it depends on what the federal prosecutors are going to do. No matter what you do, you're still going to have to deal with federal law. And I suggest you contact Representative McMorris-Rogers and ask her what she's going to do with regard to the federal law. We don't do federal law. Thank you, ma'am. Please sit down.
Take care of your city law, Mr.
Shogun.
Yeah,
please sit down, ma'am. Thank you.
If I can comment on that for a second.
Go ahead.
There's 2 other things going on here. First of all, we have 2 different federal attorneys. We have one on this side of the state that has decided to pursue an aggressive enforcement, and then we have one on the other side of the state that has not. We don't have control over those federal attorneys. Also in our state, our governor, in consultation with our attorney general, decided to veto the vast majority of the recent cannabis bill that came through the legislature, something we did not have control over either. And that action didn't give us any more clarity to the city. So kind of in a similar fashion to we are getting passed down federal and state financial obligations, we're now getting passed down federal and state policy obligations. So my hope is that the consultation with our city attorney's office to do a legal review will provide some satisfaction for the initiative sponsors, that they feel confident to come back to us, present perhaps revised initiative, and then we'll go forward, and that the citizens of the city of Spokane will have a chance to have their voice heard on this.
Mr. Moody, would you mind coming up here and tell us exactly what you want? We're considering you to be the sponsor of these 2 initiatives, and so we need to know what we're supposed to do in response to what you want us to do. Yeah, and we're not going to pass them into law tonight, so pick your next option.
Yeah, like I said, I'd like a legal review of both measures. And then as far as the way I see it, I see us coming up on a sort of a generational shift here in City Hall. And I think we're going to have some people that may be elected to office that are going to be more willing to try and address this issue here locally. And I think that, like Jessica said, there were things that took place in Seattle that were voted on specifically by the City Council. It was this ordinance was passed 8-0 by the City Council of Seattle. And the medical cannabis ordinance that I have presented is basically the City of Seattle's ordinance modified to fit Spokane Municipal Code. So there's also a section 1102 of SB 5073, which recently passed. And I don't know the exact language, but it did provide for local regulations or banning or whatever local officials are, whatever stance local officials are willing to take, depending on the local population. I think the local population has made it clear that there is a demand for medical marijuana here in Spokane. And so we do need to find a better way to address this issue. Like I said, Seattle has addressed it. The state has made provisions for local municipalities and counties to address this issue. And so I'd hope that we can take a closer look at it. We're going to use this opportunity, the the city attorney's office as a foundation for moving forward on this, and I believe that we will have council persons that are more receptive coming up, and I hope to make this an issue on the up-and-coming election.
Well, I'll try to die tomorrow, so that'll be somebody succeeding me that's more attuned to this.
Yep.
And if you've clapped, man, just please leave. The fact is that the Washington State Bar recommended that possession of minor amounts of marijuana be an infraction, and they made that recommendation 11 years ago to get it out of criminal courts. That's my generation that made that recommendation. So your problem won't be with this council. Your problem's with the feds. And until you understand that, you're really up against a hard core to do.
I understand the federal, the contradictions between state, federal, and local policy, and I just don't know how you can tell me that there's nothing that can be done locally.
No, I'm not saying that.
You can look on the other side of the Cascades and see something has been done. And I do believe that we are going to have people like Mr. Snyder, for instance. He's already taking a more open approach to discussing the issue and trying to educate people on the issue. And so you tend to reference California a lot, and it's just kind of like apples to oranges. And so I just say, look over across the mountains. There's something that just happened, passed 8-0 by
my point with
city
California
council.
is that San Francisco has had a law allowing this for years, and they have an ongoing battle with the feds. And depending on who's the federal attorney there,
that's just part of what happens when you're trying to legalize marijuana. You're going to have a battle with the feds.
All I'm telling you is that as long as you're aware that is who your battle was with, then that's fine.
I'm not here to battle with the city council. I'm not here to begin a conversation on what we can do locally. So.
Well, I really thought you guys would be a little bit more mellow than you are. But Mike, please tell us the option that we're supposed to take.
I can't control what other people say. I'm just,
that's fine.
I'm here to.
So embody in words for a motion that we can make on this, Mike.
Motion to have the City Attorney's Office do a legal review of both initiatives 2011-4 and 2011-5 pursuant to SMC 2.02040.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Apple.
How long will it take you to do the review, Mr. Piccolo?
Oh, I'd say within 2 weeks.
Okay. And Mr. Moody, is that acceptable to you?
Yes, that's acceptable.
Okay. I did want to make one other point, Mr. Moody, is if you're going to tear somebody down, like the rules that you don't like, you find a case or an area where you think you can win, and you fight there to win. I'm suggesting that the federal prosecutor picked Spokane, and if he wins here, it'll happen to Seattle too. That's my opinion.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks.
That concludes all the